Sunlight Talk! So, it was nice of you to come.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hiromi Yano represents Omoto Peace Institute for Israel and Palestine. Could you tell us exactly what you are doing here at this institute?
Well, first of all, my name is Hiromi Yano. First of all, I'd like to talk how I met Matsumoto sensei. I met him about a couple years ago through one of my friends, but actually I'm watching his television program, Eikaiwa Third, I think.
That was a long time ago.
A long time ago, and about half century ago. And I was a student, and those days I was a little bit tired of watching all that English programs, because any programs like a skit at the hotel, and when you lost the way, ask, could you tell me the way to go to the station? And you have to memorize that. But Matsumoto sensei's talk, he was actually talking to native speakers, or sometimes non-native speakers, in English. That's not just the ordinary conventional style of English conversation program. So I really like it. So that was the beginning, actually, of my encountering Matsumoto sensei. Of course, he didn't know me then, but a couple years ago, fortunately, through my friend, I met him. So I'm here. I've been working in the Omoto Foundation, but specifically, I'm working for the Middle East. Why Middle East? Onisaburo Deguchi, the founder of Omoto, actually wrote a book called Reikai Monogatari, Story from the Spiritual World. In 1920s, he wrote about huge books, but he wrote about the Middle East and the Palestinian areas.
Oh, really?
He never went there, but he perhaps that he read some book or he got some knowledge through somebody, but he was in detail.
Somebody who in dreams too, perhaps.
Prophetic. Some people say that he went to the Jerusalem through spirit. And well, I'm not quite sure about it, but anyway, he wrote in details and about the geographical point or historical view in the Palestinian areas. And he said, if 1920s actually, he said if there is a peace in the Middle East, specifically Jerusalem, the world will be a much better place. So that was the beginning that I got interested in the peace process or peace project in the Middle East. Ayabe was born in, Omoto was born in Ayabe. Ayabe is a very, very tiny city, just about 30,000 people. It's very small, but it's very active in peace. And actually 2000, Ayabe and the city of Ayabe and city of Jerusalem become sister city.
Oh, sister city.
Actually, we didn't say that, sister city, but declaration of the peace between the city of Ayabe and city of Jerusalem.
Okay, let me hold you there, Yano-san.
Yes.
I really hate to take you by surprise. You and I both believe in good surprise, not bad surprise.
Okay.
But Donald Trump called Jerusalem the center of Jewish state. I thought it was outrageous. Now, what was your reaction to it? Why it's such a big deal?
Why it's complicated, I have to talk about, I think we'll talk about another 30 minutes. But it's actually, in international law, Jerusalem is not for Jewish people. And 1967, actually, Israel occupied, especially eastern part of Jerusalem. So, and also in the future, Palestinians like to set up their own countries with the capital of East Jerusalem. So if Israel said that the whole area of the Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, that was against international law. But anyway, sorry to interrupt, that was myself. So after 3 years after the declaration of the sister cities between the city of Ayabe and city of Jerusalem, the mayor then, Ayabe, said, is it possible for you to bring Israeli and Palestinian teenagers whose parents or relatives are killed in the battles? I thought, I don't know whether it was possible or not. But anyway, he said, go to Israel. and go to Palestine to find out. And I went to Tel Aviv, actually actual de facto capital of Israel, because there's embassies, all embassies in the world in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Now then I met Shimon Peres, the Nobel Peace Laureate, and actually he was the architect, one of the architects of the Oslo Accord in 1993. He set up the Shimon Peres Peace Institute, and very fortunately I could meet him. And I talked about Ayabe. Of course, he didn't know about Ayabe, but I talked about the mayor of the city of Ayabe would like to invite Israeli and Palestinian teenagers come to and bring them to Japan.
Why both? The common sense tells us
because
pick one out
yeah,
of
because
two.
not
Why both?
Because we are not specifically supporting Israel, nor supporting Palestinians, and we don't want to talk about politics. We just want them. Them means Israeli Palestinian teenagers come over to Japan and talk, and we just give them the chance to meet each other. And I talked to them. I talked to the members of the Shimon Peres centers, and also that I met him. I met Shimon Peres for 10 minutes, and I talked about our plan. And he said, "A good idea. So we'd like to help you." So he introduced actually one of the organization called Believed Family Organization, which is the small offshoot of Shimon Peres centers. And Believed Family Organization is the members of the Israelis and Palestinians whose relatives and fathers and mothers and uncle and aunts were killed in both battles. And but they realized that they had to talk. They have to have the reconciliation. And so I met the representatives, both in Palestinian and Israelis. And they finally came to Ayabe in 2003. And of course, and point is they are staying at ordinary Ayabe families. And they stay a pair, Israeli teenager, Palestinian teenager, a pair, and stay at one family. And they spend time, of course, you think that Israel and Palestine, they could see each other all the time in Israel and Palestine, which is not true. Being in Japan, it's very, very difficult to realize or visualize the state of Palestinian Israelis now. They first came to Ayabe and talk, at the beginning they didn't talk, but teenagers, young people, as they get having a good time, and it's really, we started talking about that. Point is not, we don't talk about, let's not talk about politics much, but we realize that we have to do something together. The policy of the project is doing something together. It's kind of hands-on experience and experiencing a Japanese culture which is entirely different from theirs. If they understand that the kids, both Israeli and Palestinians, teenagers, realize that there is something good, not theirs, not their culture, not Palestinian culture, not Israeli culture, but Japanese culture, which is different, but there is something good.
Okay,
that's the point. That's the point.
Yano-san, that sounds beautiful. Hands-on experience.
Yes.
But now the hard part.
Yes.
If it's so good, why hasn't everyone else have done that? Why Omoto can have it both ways? Both the Israelis and Palestinians hated each other to the guts. You are running the risk of having a fallout between two nations.
No, first of all, these programs are not only ours. There are some other programs. There's the Israeli-Palestinian reconciliation programs, and which is actually done in Tokyo and in some other part. But our project, characteristic of a program, is focusing on teenagers. That's a very different teenagers, kids. That's a very different things.
You don't deal with the teenagers. First, deal with someone at the top.
Yeah,
the
of
negotiation.
course, to negotiate, yes.
You did the negotiation.
I did negotiation.
How did you do it?
Well, I think that we like to, Japan is, we do not have any bias, And as a matter of fact, I had been participating in some of the inter-religious gatherings in many parts of the world. I was a little bit tired. I was getting tired of that just a peace talk, like a talk shops.
Yeah.
Like talking, we need a peace, and all the religious representatives, they only talk about peace, but nothing. I mean, it's no, Judaism is a piece of religion, Islam is the piece of religion, and Buddhism is a religion of peace, Shinto is a religion of peace, just talk shops. But doing something together.
How do you reconcile different religions, different ideas?
Well, as a matter of fact, I always say that people, for instance, in Japan, when you heard, well, often I said, I've been to Israel, I've been Palestine. They say, oh, how dangerous.
Dangerous.
How dangerous place you go. Your wife or your kid, are they really worried about you? I said, Israeli Palestinians do not fight all the times, just sometimes. So it's a creating a bad image. Of course they have problems. But they are not fighting all the time. If you go to Jerusalem, Sensei, you've been to Israel, right?
I've been to both.
And you said you have, they have it. Yeah. I mean, you don't see everybody fighting all the time.
I didn't say everybody.
So it's really kind of, yeah. So, of course they have problems.
But they have offenses. Let's face it, they have offenses.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to go through that.
Yeah. That was after the 2006, 2007. But the point is, we are not talking about politics, but we are talking about more something like doing something together. By doing something together, they really get down to talk. I mean, you know, just a conference, for instance, you just have prepare papers, and you just read it. And each read and just, they think that reconciliations. But instead of that, we focus on doing something together. And the interesting thing is that I've done a couple of times, almost every year, but not exactly every year. About 8 times, I think, we've done this project. And all the time, at the end of the project, Israeli Palestinians, at least 1 or 2 people say that, having been to Japan, spending time with Israelis, spending time with Palestinians, I realized how much alike we are. You mean being in Japan, they are very much alike. And characters, the way they talk, and the way they eat. So they're so close, but they don't have chance to mingle each other. So we just give them the chance to doing something together, and with the same counterparts of Japanese teenagers, which is good for Japanese teenagers. So in a case of Ayabe, for instance, 7 Israeli kids, 7 Israeli, I shouldn't say kids, the teenagers, 7 Israeli teenagers, 7 Palestinian teenagers, and Japanese, 7 Japanese teenagers. They're really, at the beginning, of course, they are reserved, they didn't talk much. At the end, especially when they really like to spend time at Tokyo Disneyland. They're much happier to see Disneyland than meeting prime ministers. So they're really doing something. But I'm not so naive about the peace process. For instance, I still remember one Palestinian girl, 2003, 2 years later, 2005, I went to Jerusalem to have kind of reunion, try to meet the teenagers who came to Japan in 2003. And 7 all Palestinians came to our meeting. And Israelis only 4, because in Israel, boys and girls, they are drafted, they are soldiers then. So only 4 Israelis came to see us. And I still remember that one Palestinian girl said, when I was in Japan, I thought I could make friends with Israelis. But after I came back, I think it's not possible. She said, one day I will be the leader of the Palestine. And I want to be a leader of the Palestine, which we don't have. But I want to be very hard on Israel. You know, when I become the leader of the Palestine, I'll be very hard on Israel. But when I make a decision, I just try to think that the time that I had spent in Japan with Israeli kids.
はい、矢野さんね、ちょっと時間が来て、ちょっと日本語に入れないとついてこれない人がいるんだけども、元へ戻したという、ここはうまくいきますよね、子供でですね。また政治が入ってくるとまた難しくなってきてあるんですけど、フォローアップはなかなかできないでしょうね、なかなか。
今も申し上げた通り、これをやったからね、我々はこんなことをしてるからすぐに平和が来るということはもうとてもではないですけれども、ただ子供であるっていうのはすごく大事なんですよね。で子供っていうのはね、今も言いましたけどパレスチナの女の子がね、自分は日本にいる時はイスラエルのことも仲良くできると思った。だけど帰ったら現実がありますから、それはもうできないと思う。ただね、自分が将来、パレスチナという国はないですけれども、今近々本当に早くパレスチナの国ができた時にね、自分はリーダーになりたいんだと。今医者ですけどね、今パレスチナで医者してますけど、だけどもね、イスラエルに対して厳しい姿勢でいきたいんだけど、ただ自分が子供の時にイスラエルの子供たちもとても仲良くできたということをね、やっぱりその判断の時には考えたいと。それぐらいの前と思いますね。
やってることは素晴らしくて、いろんなね、私も両方の国って両方見てるんですけど、これをまとめる人というのは難しいですね。それ大本教という話はね、矢野さんも逆に大本教の宗教のことはあんまり、PR したくないって遠慮されてますけどね、やっぱり大本教でしかできないということがあるんです。もう次回パート2ではね、そこに入っていきます。この原という宗教、それがあるんです。両方とも受けて好き嫌いやったら仲良くする、なかなかできない。この原についてね、続けて入っていきますね。Michihiro Matsumoto, known as Channel Tokyo, Japan, with Mr. Yano Hiromi. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.